Hello there, in this video I'm going to show you how you can use Blender 2.9 with the Sverchok add-on to create some Voronoi 3D printable objects. And if you Google Shapeways and FluidDesigner, that'll take you to our shop on the internet. So we're going to create something like this Voronoi pattern here. This is personalized with the letter O in it, this letter I, so these can be combined to make a bracelet. This is a heart-shaped Voronoi pattern with a Donald Duck in the middle. So we're going to make something like this, but without the Donald Duck in the middle. Now all the software can be downloaded from fluiddesigner.co.uk. So you can link to Blender, Jewelcraft, FluidDesigner assets, and the PY clone and Netfab Basic. So they can all be downloaded for free. So if we go to Blender, if we assume that you've installed the Sverchok add-on, what we want to do is to create a new node tree, and what we're going to do is to go to add spatial. So we're going to use a Voronoi 2D node, and if I just place that on there and just zoom in on it, in order to generate our Voronoi pattern, we're going to add a random vector, and I'm going to change the count to 100 initially. And we're going to multiply that by a single vector, so I need a vector in, and I'm going to set the Y to 20 and the Z to 20, those values there. Now what we're going to do is multiply these two vectors together. So if we go to add vector and vector math, I'll just put it there. So we need to change the function to cross product, because by multiplying these two vectors, so the random vector, 100 of them, with the vector in, and then feeding that through the Voronoi 2D node, we can get an output. Now I like working with curves, so I'm going to go to Add Viz and Curve Viewer, so my output's going to be a curve. So if I join up the node vertices there and join up the edges, you can see there I've got my Voronoi pattern generated. Now the thickness of this pattern at the moment is based on this depth radius here, so I'm just going to set that back to 0. Okay, so this pattern at the moment is just made up of a load of curves, and if I just go back to my nodes, the count of 100 here, if I change that down to 10, essentially this 10 is the number of segments here. So there was 100, now there's 10. I'm going to set it to say 15. You can see that's one way of changing the pattern. We can also change the pattern by changing the seed here. That will change the pattern. And we can also change the size by changing Y and Z. So I'm going to change these down to 10 and 10. Okay, so this object now is probably, well, it's about 20 millimeters wide and just over 30 millimeters long. Something that's very important to do is I recommend that you remove the tick from the draw bounds. That's the box around the outside. It's better to add your own in, but don't remove the tails. If you remove the tails, then there's not a lot left of the pattern. So leave the draw tails. So I can move that panel out of the way now and go to View and Viewpoint and Top View. So there's my Voronoi pattern generated from my Sverchok nodes. What I want to do now is to add curve, and if I do a NURB circle, and if I change the radius, I think about 10 millimeters, that'll make it a bit larger there, look. And if I just go to Edit Mode, and if all the control points are highlighted there, if I just do subdivide, that will change it from a circle to more of a square shape. And if I do S on the keyboard and X on the keyboard, I can scale it out like that so that it fits a bit more around my Voronoi pattern. And if I just come out of edit mode now, back to object mode, so here's my Voronoi pattern there, and there's my outline. So I'm just going to select my Voronoi pattern. If I just do G on the keyboard and just grab it and just move it across, And then if I select the outline panel there and hold down the shift key and select the Voronoi pattern, and if I just join the two objects together now, so I've just got one object here. Now I need to apply some thickness to it, and I like, as I say, these are curves, so if I just go to the switch this panel over here to the file browser. Now this is PY clone, and these are the FluidDesigner assets. So if I go to cross section bevel objects, and if I just scroll down to the bottom here, I'm going to use this square cross section, and if I just drag and drop it onto the workspace and hit the letter P on the keyboard and just click outside of the yellow box there, what I've done is in the center of the screen there, and I've placed this square cross section, and I'm going to use this as the bevel object. But before I do it, I'm just going to change the size of it. At the moment it's 1mm by 1mm. I'm going to change the Y to 2mm. So this is going to be the bevel object that I'm going to apply to my Voronoi pendant, as it's going to be. So with the Voronoi pendant selected, if I go to the curve properties panel over here and go to geometry and go to bevel, so I selected, if I select bevel object and object cross section rectangular bevel object, it will apply that bevel object that I put in the middle of the screen to my pendant here. So my pendant is now 1mm across and 2mm deep. It's controlled by that bevel object. So if I just go to view and viewport and top, and I'll just close that panel down. Now I need to tidy up around here, so I need to go into edit mode now, and if I just zoom in over here, if I select that control point at the end and I just hit G for grab on the keyboard and just pull that so that it's in the middle there. So I just need to tidy up all the way around here now, just get it in the middle. That one's already in the middle. G to grab. So I just need to go all the way around, tidying up my Voronoi pattern so that it fits in the outline of my pendant here. So just somewhere in the center. You don't want them sticking through the other side like these two are here. So G to grab, just put it in the center somewhere, G to grab. And we've got a few more to do up at the top here. I think just two more. G to grab. And G to grab. Okay, and if we come out of edit mode now, go back to object mode. Now if this is going to be a pendant, we need a ring on it to put the chain through. So using the FluidDesigner assets, if I go to jewelry findings and drag and drop this 2.5mm one here, so I need to hit P on the keyboard and just position it there. And what I like to do is to join this ring to my pendant. So if I hold down the shift key and click on the pendant and go to object and join, it will apply the same 1mm by 2mm bevel object to the ring at the top. Now, so there's my Voronoi pendant created using the Sverchok nodes. Now you must run this through Netfab Basic to fix it, and so if we go to file and export a wavefront object to the desktop, and I'll save it with the name Voronoi object. I did this earlier, so I'm just writing on top of that one with this one I've just created here. And you must go to Netfab Basic. So if I just do a new one, you can see that I'd already done it before. I forgot to delete that one, but if we just go to project and open the one that we've just created there, you can see we get a warning red triangle, but all we do in Netfab Basic is run the repair procedure, update, and automatic repair and execute, and update, and that set my border edges, orientation and holes to 0. So if you just apply the repair and remove the old part, this now is a 3D printable object. So all you need to do is to go to part, export it as a wavefront object, I saved it as voronoi and say yes, and you can then upload that to Shapebase. Now you've got to be careful here. If any of these segments turn to red, you must play around and delete the red segment, because that will not print. So you do need to be careful there and repair anything. But if you just go to Shapebase on the internet, you can upload it and produce your pendant. Alright, so that's how you can use Sverchok nodes and Blender to create Voronoi 3D printable items. Okay, so thank you very much.